everyone. So this is my very first time going live on YouTube. It's my first time using StreamYard, so bear with me. I don't have a big audience here, so there's actually no one watching, so it shouldn't be that bad, but I am going to save this to my channel. So I wanted to talk about some of the trans controversies. This is a subject that I had kind of stayed away from for a long time. As a biological female, as a libertarian, it can get kind of dicey. And there's some really strong emotions on all sides. And I think that we have to understand that this is a pretty nuanced subject, and it really depends on the situation that you're talking about. A lot of times, libertarians in general, or like libertarians specifically, try to use logic to determine how pretty much like everything should be approached, and they really lose the nuance for that. So I want to talk a little bit about some of my thoughts and then share a couple of the controversies of the week, just to get you all some perspective and to highlight on those. So we'll just jump right in. I did a tweet the other day. I actually reshared this clip, this video, shared by or created by Morgan Ariel. Because I actually did not know that Blaire White was transgendered for like the first probably 20, 30 times I saw like photos and stuff shared of her. I had never watched her content. I really didn't even realize that that was like a huge part of her content. I just kind of thought, oh, this is another pretty, Republican or conservative female commentator. So it wasn't until I saw somebody else share a tweet of hers that talked about her not having a menstrual cycle, not having a period because she's a man, that I was like, what? And I was very confused about it, to be honest, because I was like, this does not look like a man. This is like a beautiful woman. She sounds like a woman. I think I had actually maybe watched like one clip by her, heard her voice. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Like I had to watch some of her content. And to this day, like I really don't see anything when I watch her, when I look at her, that screams to me like that used to be a man. But I know that she is very open about the fact that she is transgendered, shares a lot about it, so it's really no secret. But I'm going to play this clip so you can see. Well, first I'll just set it up really quick. So Blaire White had shared a photo of herself in a bikini, holding in some type of firearm. I'm not really good at that. Okay, libertarians, don't hate me too much. And saying like, no, it's hard for me to say stuff like this sometimes, but basically she was saying like, if you see a bulge in a liberal woman's pants, it's a penis. And if you see it in a conservative woman's, it's a gun. So she had this picture of her in a bikini just holding a gun. I watched her reaction video about this, and she was basically saying she was just trying to troll both sides. She considers herself a Republican voter, but not a conservative necessarily, is kind of what she said in that video. And she knew that this photo would get reactions from both sides. So one of the main reactions, because I think that the photo got about 8 million views, and this, it's like a TikTok video, but shared to Twitter, got about 1 million. So I'm going to play just the beginning of this right now because it's pretty controversial. But when I saw it, I was like, oh my. So let's watch
where the conservative movement is at right now, where things like this are being glorified. Mr. Blaire White, what I really should address you as is a devil, because that's exactly what you are when you are intentionally going onto your platform and posting content like this to thirst trap and deceive straight men into having perverse thoughts about you. You're a devil.
So that was just part of the clip. She goes on, in there about how Blaire White should repent and, God's not pleased with her and everything. And, as a Christian, like I get her perspective, but I also get Blaire White's perspective when she kind of comes back at it, because the truth is that she's very open about being a transgender person. Now, I guess personally, I can say that in a way, this Ariel girl could be correct, because I was confused for so long, but I also wasn't, looking at her in that fashion. I was just looking at her as like another commentator. I'm like, she's pretty. Kind of somebody whose content I actually liked, as far as like once I have started watching her now, somebody I look up to as like her looks really good, her delivery is really good, her sounds really good. And yeah, so I was surprised that she is actually a biological man. I still basically can't wrap my head around it, but it was interesting to see that reaction. So I'm gonna play Blaire White, like a little portion of her reaction back to Morgan Ariel's video, basically saying like, what do you want me to do? I can either be the most, beautiful, best version of myself as a transgendered female, or are you saying that I should try to look more masculine, or are you saying like I just need to dress more conservatively? She didn't say that, but I'm paraphrasing, but she kind of reacts to that. So I'm going to play her reaction.
Dropping straight men. So is your argument that I can't be hot and be trans? Because if I look like a man, you'd be saying I look like a man. So is the argument that if I wasn't putting any effort, then it's like, look at this trans woman not putting any effort. And then I do look hot and it's, look at this trans woman thirst trapping straight men. If your sexuality can be shifted by seeing a picture, maybe you weren't so steadfast in that sexuality to begin with.
Okay, so she makes a point there. Like, I get what she's saying. We should all be able to look our best. Like, personally, I was actually going to wear a bikini for this video, but that's actually also not really my style. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna dress a little bit more conservatively because, partially because of my age. I am 36. I am a mom, but that's not to say I don't wear a bikini online sometimes, or yoga pants or whatever. So I get where she's coming from. We all want to look our best, and she's 29. Like, I don't really think it's fair to ask her to like, dress super conservatively all the time. But at the end, she says, if you were attracted to a picture, were you really that secure in your sexuality, or was that really your sexuality after all? Now, that is not really a fair assessment, because look, she's going to go on to explain this in a way that doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to play that.
Right? Because you could show me the picture of the hottest woman. Say I challenge you, change my sexuality, show me the hottest woman on the planet. I still wouldn't be attracted to women. I mean.
Okay, so here's why that didn't make any sense. She looks like a woman, but she's actually a biological man. And everything that I've seen says like that she didn't even get the bottom surgery. So she, is still has man reproductive parts. But she's comparing that to showing her a photo of a beautiful woman and saying that she wouldn't then be attracted to it and that wouldn't change her sexuality. That's not what this Morgan Ariel girl is talking about at all, and that's not what she's accusing her of. Basically, what she's saying is she's pretending to be a woman to get men to be attracted to her, and when in reality, she's a man. So that would be the opposite. So Blaire White she missed the boat on this one. A better argument would have been like if I showed her a photo of somebody who was a very handsome looking man, very, like good looking to her style, to her taste, whatever, and then told her that that was actually a woman. Would that change her sexuality? So that's really what we're talking about here. So she makes some good points in defense of herself. Yeah, you can dress however you want. You are very open about being trans, nothing wrong with that. But she does miss the boat a little bit there at that point of trying to say that, it would be like showing her a photo of a beautiful woman and asking her if she's now attracted to women. So, but I thought that was just kind of an interesting little controversy there. People have a lot of issues with the trans, the trans movement, trans agenda. One thing I want to talk about really quick is the bathroom question, because I actually did go on to watch another video of Blaire White's where she attempts to use a men's room. This was after I had actually asked the question over on Twitter. Do you think it's really that cut and dry, a very feminine looking trans woman like Blaire White, which bathroom they should use? Is it really that cut and dry? So I had probably 90 or 100 replies to that. Lots of people saying if you have man parts, you should go in the men's room. I don't want a biological man using the bathroom that my daughters use. But I have to always play devil's advocate because that's just me. I want to look at things from a different point of view. So I think, would I want Blaire White to go in the bathroom with my son? Okay, like, isn't that a little bit more confusing for him, like a small child, young boys, seeing what looks like a beautiful woman walk into the men's room? Isn't that going to make them a lot more uncomfortable than if I saw Blaire White walk into the women's room with me? I wouldn't even notice. I have tried to scrutinize this woman to find anything that I can see that looks masculine, that looks like she was ever a man. So whatever she's had done has worked so well that I cannot perceive it. Like, she sounds like a woman, she looks like a woman, her hands look like a woman. Her face, everything, there's no trace of her being a man. So to say, like, should she go into the men's room? No, like, that would be bizarre and that would make absolutely everyone uncomfortable. So turns out she had actually tried this experiment. She had done an episode like a while back where she tries to go into a men's room. A man kind of questions her, somebody else gives her a weird look, and then in the end, the restaurant that she was in actually asked her to leave. Okay, because she had gone in the men's room. So, no, like, I don't think it's that easy of a question. I think when somebody does a very good job transitioning, it would make everyone a lot more comfortable for them to use the bathroom that looks like how they look. Now, obviously, privacy involved and stuff, people should use stalls. And I do think that there's kind of an issue with our bathrooms anyways, is like they're too open. Nobody wants to use the bathroom with like those open stalls and everything. I don't know how men feel about urinals. That's not my area of expertise or anything I have any type of experience with, but I would think that, not using those type of like open situations would obviously be a lot easier for people who are transgender. Okay, so let's see. I don't think I had anything else to talk about on that exact topic. So moving on, let's go to the Hershey bar, which has been the other big controversy this week, as far as, for the transgender, for Women's Month or Women's Day, whatever it was, and then for chocolate now in general. So basically, since it's Women's Month and International Women's Day, Hershey's came out with an advertisement to celebrate women and a chocolate bar where they kind of like highlighted the she part of the word. And they used a transgendered person in the video advertisement for Canada. So this clip is Candace Owens reacting to that. She did a little segment on it, and then she tells y'all how the Daily Wire is going to, deal with this in addition to just boycotting the chocolate, just boycotting Hershey's, which I think is funny because I actually accused them of this the other day when they were coming against yoga pants. I was like, why are they coming against yoga pants? Why is she trying to sell us on jeans? Also Jeremy Boring talked against yoga pants. Ben Shapiro talked against yoga pants. I'm like, are they coming out with the jeans? So here's an example of why somebody might think that if they talk badly about yoga pants, that they're coming out with a line of jeans, especially since they were trying to, prop up jeans, because when they talked against Hershey's, this is what they came up with.
Would not let Faye Johnstone anywhere near my children. I don't even want Faye Johnstone anywhere near my chocolate, which is why the Daily Wire is not going to just boycott Hershey's. Instead, it's going to create its own chocolate bars. Yes, huge announcement. Jeremy made an announcement over his Twitter that we are launching Jeremy's chocolates with 2 varieties. You're going to love these varieties. There's going to be a he-him bar, which has nuts. And there's going to be a she-her bar, which is appropriately nutless.
All right, so the Daily Wire is going to have their own chocolate bars in response to this because they want to end wokeness. I think I saw from somebody that they're kind of like ridiculously expensive, but if you're interested in those, there you go. There's some non-woke chocolate. I get what they're saying. Like, I get it. Like, people get very offended about this stuff. Personally, I don't, and I don't eat Hershey's anyways because it tastes nasty. It's disgusting. And also, I don't go around eating chocolate bars because I know that that's not the way to look, feel, live the way that I want to. That's not going to improve my health. That's not going to improve my life. Like if I am going to eat like chocolate or treats or something like that, it's always going to be a healthier version. It's never going to be like the mainstream nasty, like Hershey's bar. Like it's just not. So sorry, Hershey's. You were never a part of my life, but this is not to me like a reason to be mad at the chocolate specifically. People get very offended. And this is something that maybe it's me as a libertarian woman instead of a conservative woman. I see it differently. Blaire White's beauty as a transgender woman doesn't take away from my beauty. Her looking good doesn't make me feel less attractive as a woman. Her wanting to look like a woman doesn't make me feel like she's dressed up in a costume and like somehow trolling, making fun of me, or making light of the difficulties of being a woman. And what she actually does, which this is like, so no conservative woman's going to like this, but I didn't know she was a biological man at first. What she actually does is inspire me to want to look a little bit better, take better care of myself. I'm like, her nails look pretty. She looks put together. Her content is great. Like, I actually made like a joking tweet the other day that I was like, maybe the only reason that I can actually believe that Blaire White is a biological man instead of a biological female is because I find that I actually enjoy listening to her content without having to like force myself to. And that's just a fact. Typically, I like men's content more than women's. And I've talked about this a ton of times, like angry sounding conservative women who are upset, like Candace Owens being one of them, is like a huge turn off to me. Like I can listen to her messaging because sometimes she talks about really good topics, but the delivery gives me like the ick feeling inside. It's like a bunch of mean girls, just acting like just catty as heck. Okay. That's the look that they want for conservative commentators. And I just find it absolutely like repulsive and repelling. I'm sure they're great people, but when they get that angry, like their eyebrows are hooked together and they're, screaming or going off on something or calling people awful person and this and that, like, I find it ick, like very cringy. So Blaire White, I don't find her cringy at all. When she talks, I'm like, oh, she sounds good. She looks good. I find that actually inspirational. So women can get mad at me for that. Like, but women, if you want me to be inspired by you, if you want me to look at your content and look at your looks and how you deliver yourself and think, I want to be like her, you don't need to get mad at Blaire White. You don't need to get mad at the transgender people. You need to step up your game. That's what I do. That's how I focus on it. I'm like, if I think that biological women can do it better and I'm so threatened by a man wearing my clothes, or having nicer nails than me or having better hair than me, then what can I do? I can step up my game. I don't get mad at her. That's such women stuff. Like, I hate to say it because I am a woman. We'll go off the rails here for a second because I always like to. Personally, I understand when people think like, am I the most feminine woman in the world? Like, and I see how they could confuse children because I personally am not the most feminine woman in the world. Although I look like it, act like it, all that stuff. I do not understand other women because of the cattiness factor. I don't understand how they operate with each other. And this way that they're reacting to the transgender women is just another facet of that. That's how women act. They get threatened, they get angry, they get upset, and they get catty as heck. And it's something that, like I said, I've never understood. I understand men so much better. They're like much more, forthcoming with how they deliver stuff, with how they deal with controversy. Women are not always like that. So this is just another aspect of women getting catty at women. They think you're not woman enough, you're not this enough, you look better than me, I'm angry, let's tear her down. So I don't play that game. I don't like it. But here's what Candace Owens has to say.
Because what the trans agenda is it is such a bold act of misogyny to think that a man can just put on lipstick and some heels and say, now I'm a woman,
Okay, so is that what like women like Blaire White did? Did she just put on some lipstick and heels, or did she actually change her entire body, change the entire way she lives her life? From that video that I saw, it looks like she actually like literally had her gender change. And you're gonna say like all she did was put on some lipstick and heels and call herself a woman? I mean, I can do that, and I don't even have to put on lipstick and heels. I don't have to try it all. Which there's nothing wrong with, being a very low maintenance woman or being a very high maintenance woman. We're all different. But I think that it's a little bit much to get angry at somebody else and say that they're somehow taking away from who you are as a person just based on the fact that they want to live their life or they want to look a certain way. So, do we need to celebrate these people if we disagree? No, you don't have to celebrate them. If you don't like Blaire White and what she's doing, you don't have to watch her, okay? But for people to be so jealous and angry is just kind of like cringy to me and embarrassing, because if you are going to say like that, this person is just stealing your limelight, basically like stealing your womanhood, it's like just go on and be the best woman you can. Like don't worry about her. I think that's the biggest thing that I've noticed like over time is that people take what other people are doing very personally when it has nothing to do with them. So if the Hershey's bar wants to use a transgender person, that doesn't affect me. If Blaire White wants to be a woman when she was born a man, that doesn't affect me. Okay. Like I don't need to get jealous or upset about that. I don't need to think that it's making me less of a woman or that I'm being ridiculed or that anyone is taking away from me what I was born with, which is also not really anything. Like your biological sex is great. Yes. Like you should be happy, proud of who you are. But is that really like all you offer to the world? Like it has a lot more to do with like, what kind of mother am I? How am I to my parents? Like, what kind of like worth do I put out in the world, value to like make other people better and everything. All of that doesn't it like you can be the best man or the best woman that you want, but like to say like this is mine, like I'm a woman and no one can be like it, it's like that's such a woman thing to do. Like I'm sorry, like I love my women, but I'm like be more accepting, because what happens like when you criticize somebody else, do you look better or do you make them look worse, or do you make yourself look worse? Like you just make yourself look worse. Okay. And I can be critical of people a lot of times because I don't always like how they how they deliver stuff. So like I'm pretty, let's see, somebody says my audio is static. Someone says, I think the part of the difference with her is that she isn't going after kids. Yeah. So here's what I'm going to talk about when it comes to the transgendered agenda that I actually have a problem with. So I do agree with Blaire White, since I've investigated some of her stuff to find out that she doesn't believe in like young people transitioning. As someone with a medical background, the disturbing thing about people transitioning to me is the medical community is like duping them into thinking that they can perform like acts of God and miracles to change their body that they can't. They're duping people. And I had seen those forearm scars, a couple of photos of them shared. And once I went and looked at like, because I was like, this just can't, like, maybe this is fake. I always think like, hopefully this is just fake, because that scar is so severe. You actually have like, I think like 30 or 40 little muscles and tendons and stuff that run down your arm that make it work. Like the forearm has so many, they connect, all to the hand, all to different, to make it work so well. So to harvest that, I can't even, it didn't seem logical because like the effect it would have on grip strength, things like that. I couldn't imagine it. So, I almost thought that those were fake, but I did go to a website and find like, here is an actual medical doctor's presentation of how they do that. And then they create like a penis out of it. I don't think that the medical community does, they never do real, true informed consent. We know this with a lot of different products, including ones that they want to give you to prevent illness. And this is another branch of that, where I don't think that they're explaining that hormones damage your body. fighting your natural hormone balance will cause you longevity issues. Your hormones, whether you're male or female, are perfectly balanced to protect your heart health, bone health. Everything about you relies on your hormones. When you start messing with those, you have problems. As a female, I have not taken oral contraceptive birth control in over 10 years because I started to have the inkling like of, oh, they say this causes blood clots. And, like I started to wonder about things like breast cancer, like why did it come up? And this is before anybody was talking about it. And I started to realize like adding hormones to that, why would that not be the cause? And I made this decision like pretty much even before I went to like school. I was a physician assistant for 6 years. And I decided to stop taking hormonal contraceptive because of that, because I knew of the damage to the body. Those are even the hormones that are somewhat compatible with my body naturally. So I don't think that they set people up with even a true expectation in that situation of the risk factors. So to completely turn a person's hormonal profile on its head to give them like the opposite hormones, we know that how damaging some of these things can be just from the bodybuilding community. And those are adult, men mostly, some women. And the women experience side effects called virilization sometimes. They get a deepening of the voice. They can have actual changes like in their genitalia and stuff. So we know that these things cause issues. Lots of male bodybuilders die young, heart attacks, things like that. And those are, but when it comes to the testosterone for the men, that's still their biological hormones, like being given to them, the ones that are the same that they were born with. For the women, you're fighting it a little bit more. They're giving them obviously testosterone, things like that, but those are still dangerous. And so the fact that they're going complete opposite to nature and like pretending to people like they're still going to live just as long and a healthy of a life is absolute insanity to me. And then to not tell them also like with good expectations how difficult these surgeries, especially those bottom surgeries, are going to be, or how much scarring like a female would have if she had like her entire breast removed. And then the fact that, from that, there's no going back. Like, even if they only get the top surgery, they can't later obviously breastfeed because they've taken off all the glands and everything. So it's just, to me, like for them to not give full consent, full informed consent to adults is awful, horrible medical abuse. For them to do that to children is absolutely criminal. It disgusts me with the profession and the medical community as a whole to even think about these transgender clinics that are preying on children and their confusion. Because like I said, like I was almost kind of a tomboy as a kid. Not like I didn't like always have short hair or like dress like a boy or anything, but I just was never a very girly girl. And so what if, someone come in, and I talk about this time to time, like the problem with humans is that we are intelligent enough to be manipulated. We're intelligent enough that our thoughts can be twisted and used against us. So what if someone came in and told me like, oh, well, you don't feel that girly because you actually were supposed to be born a boy? And I'd be like, I don't know any different. I'm just a kid. I could be somebody who could end up confused from that. When I was a child. Now, of course, like not me to the extent of like some of the other girls that I knew and was friends with and stuff that were very tomboys. If that was an industry then, though, it could have confused a lot of people. And just imagining today, like that something like that could have happened, and like I wouldn't have my son or any of those females that are in that situation where they just didn't think they were the girliest. And then someone's like, oh, you've always felt different. Maybe it's because you were born in the wrong body. And then those wheels start turning, and then all of a sudden they're making those lifelong decisions, and the medical community is preying on them. They're making an entire new type of an entire new type of medicine now where they can make money and everything, and it's absolutely unnecessary. And this is the issue that I have with the medical community, is that they take an oath. We all take an oath, do no harm. Well, they are harming these people just by giving them hormones that are going to shorten their life. They're harming them by taking away their reproductive abilities. They're harming them by giving them surgeries that are not going to be anywhere near like the actual anatomy that they were born with or the actual anatomy that they aspire to be like. So that's my little side rant there. I didn't have any more clips. That was basically everything I was going to talk about. I appreciate y'all so much for tuning in. This was really fun. I had never done YouTube Live before. I'm going to start streaming over here. I got like a better microphone. I am going to hopefully get Wi-Fi soon and set up my webcam for my computer. This is just streamed on my phone. So again, it probably doesn't look its best, but thank you all so much. I do want to talk more about the trans stuff because I do not dislike trans people or have a problem with them. Like people like Blaire White and everything. My issue, like I've talked about, is with the medical community preying on unsuspecting people, altering their bodies and basically making them lifelong customers of, the medical industry. And of course, my arch nemesis, Big Pharma. So I think that that's the area that we really need to look at. Moving backwards to one thing too, I did share a photo from New York Post on Twitter and over on my Instagram where it was saying that basically they're going to let men do women's powerlifting. And I don't know if y'all know this, but my job is I'm actually a fitness coach. I've been in fitness for 20 years, working out, things like that. I recently moved back into it as a profession. I coach both men and women, okay? The strongest woman in the gym, like the strongest woman that's worked for 5 years, like on strength, like a bench press or like an overhead press, she caps off where most men start. Okay. Like most men start off about as strong as like a woman can even get to. Okay. So like I might have like one of, let's see, like the stronger women might be able to bench with like a plate on both sides. Okay. She's been working at this for years. She's like a natural female, maybe not a power lifter. Most men can do one plate right away. Correct. So those men, within a few months of their working out, now they have a, one plate and a 25, 2 plates, 3 plates, some of them. Do you think a woman is ever going to be able to do that? No. Like, I don't. I mean, maybe there's powerlifting women that can do that, but I'm just saying, like, if you give them time, like, the lag is so different. Same thing with deadlifts, stuff like that. It's just not comparable at all, but mostly the upper body strength. I saw a video the other day of Ian Smith overhead pressing, I think as much as I can deadlift. I don't remember exactly how much it was, but it was so much. And I was like, my goodness, imagine if Ian Smith decided he wanted to compete as a woman against me. I think I'm a strong woman. Like I'm pretty strong. I've worked very hard. I'm not the strongest. I can only overhead press with the barbell that's 45 pounds with a 10 and a 5 on each side. That's 15 pounds. I might get to 17 and a half on each side pretty soon, but it's going to take a lot of work to get to 20 and I'll probably never get to 25 on each side. Okay. So there you have it. The powerlifting thing doesn't make any sense. It's absolutely, pretty much just silly for them to even think like they're going to have, men and women's powerlifting, even if they're taking estrogen and everything. They're just going to have a separate division for that, in my opinion. It just doesn't work. Like I can't imagine it. Somebody said, "Oh, I look wonderful. Thank you so much." Somebody said it's an easy money grab. You must have been talking about the transgendered transitioning clinics that they have popping up all over, which is so sad because it is true that the medical community has started just preying on people for different ways to make money. And because of that, I'm going to wrap this up real quick, but that is why my, goal is always to teach people that what you want to do is minimize how much the medical community impacts your life as much as possible. So doing something like taking your kid to a transitioning clinic to get them on lifelong hormones from Big Pharma is not the right step. You know, you want to always minimize how much you have to even deal with those companies, because they're definitely going to just take more and more and more and try to enslave the population to all be customers of their products. So the best ways that you can have as little to do with the pharmaceutical industry and the medical industry as possible is taking care of yourself. So eat right, stay away from that Hershey's. It doesn't matter if they use a trans label or a trans model or a biological female model to sell you the chocolate. The chocolate's not healthy. You don't really want to eat it, you know. Same thing, sodas, all that stuff. I shared something the other day that was like, basically Big Soda tried to tell everyone that Coke and Pepsi, like those who drink more Coke and Pepsi, will have higher testosterone levels and bigger testicle size. So we can only imagine who funded that study. But just stay away from their products. Eat whole foods, work out. If you have any questions about working out, please feel free to DM me. If you're looking for a coach, please feel free to DM me. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, and I also always answer my DMs. Somebody said I'm guilty only of drinking sweet tea. Sweet tea is fine. I personally use non-sugar sweeteners. So I usually do Splenda. It's not the best. Stevia, a little bit better. And there's a few other ones there too. But that's about it, you guys. Thank you so much. I really appreciate everyone being a part of my very first YouTube live stream. I'm going to save this to my YouTube channel, and I'm going to start doing more of these. So y'all have a fantastic day.